Holly on a routine expedition. Met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, they struck their tiny raft and plunged them down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost.
Hello, viewers of Wasteland TV. We are here with
Kathleen Coleman. Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was on. Kathleen Coleman.
What did Kathleen Coleman do?
From Land of the Lost.
What
did I do?
What was Land of the Lost first off?
Okay. Land of the Lost was a television show that was back in the early 70s. And it was about a family that were on a water raft ride and went over a waterfall and wound up in a prehistoric land with dinosaurs and lizard people and monkey people. And it was about how our family had all these situations and how we, by the end of the half an hour had solved a problem and worked together as a family. And it was a really well done show. We had good writers and we were just a happy, wonderful show.
Talking
back
about
in
the writers.
70s.
All
of our writers were writers from Star Trek.
The original season I noticed, and then seasons
some of them,
and three
by
was
the
none
third
of them.
season we did not have many of those same writers.
What happened there?
Well, first of all, the father left the show, and the uncle came on board, and then.
What was your feelings about Uncle Jack replacing the father?
Reading my book.
A cheap pop there.
And by the way, you can get my book on Amazon. It's called Run Holly Run, and it's won 2 awards. And the third season. We still had fun. We still had a good time, but it wasn't the same.
It felt like a whole different show. I just rewatched it again.
We had a lot of guest stars on the show at that point, and I don't know, we really loved Spencer, and we were the original family that they picked with the chemistry that we had, and it just changed in that third season.
Like at the end of season 1, did you feel that the show was going to end with the last episode?
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, because
we had no idea when we were filming, when we first started filming, that the show was even going to be a success. It was also, especially for me, like Wesley had worked more than I had at that point. I was in a band. I was traveling with the Mike Kerr band. And so I hadn't really done a whole lot of television. I'd done commercial work. And so I really didn't know what to expect. I was 12 years old, and I wound up with this series, and I didn't even think about how popular it would be or anything like that. I just knew that the sets were fun and it was exciting. And then all of a sudden, people started telling us how well it was doing and how well it was being received.
When I was a kid, it was one of my favorite shows to watch.
Yeah, and today, back then there was only 3 networks or 3 channels.
ABC, NBC, and CBS.
And CBS, right. And so, our fan base just is huge. And at that time, this was during a period where Saturday mornings really belonged to the children.
Yeah, and it was Road for Children.
You got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, your parents had worked all week, and they're, asleep, so basically the den or the living room or whatever is your kingdom. You got your bowl of cereal, you're happy as a pig in mud, and you get to watch whatever you want. And so we, in a sense, raised a generation of children. And then they come to see us at places like this and they share their stories, what it meant to them, we have people that have come to the table and told us things like, my mother and father divorced when I was 8 or something, and I thought, Wow, that's really wild. I never even thought of us as being like a single parent family on the show. I don't know why. I just never really thought of it like that.
Well, it's kind of a single parent family because when you think about it,
No,
the mother,
it was because the mother died.
passed away.
Yeah, but I mean, for some reason in my mind, I just never really thought of it like that.
No.
And so anyway, but we have all kinds of stories that come our way, and what it meant to people, how it helped them cope with certain things, and that's just the kind of like that side of the spectrum. But the other side is, it was a joy to these people, and they loved it, and we made them happy, and feel, you know, if you guys can do things, we can do things.
You think because the original first season had a lot of Star Trek writers, you think it helped fill the void of people missing Star Trek?
Possibly.
Because
we had great writing.
David Gerald and a lot of Nebula
show,
writers.
Because of the way it was written, they chose never to talk down to the children.
Yeah.
They actually had the kids rise to their level, you know, and so possibly, yeah, I would say there's a good chance.
Yeah, it wasn't insulting. I was watching it again. I was always afraid to watch the series because I go, it's going to ruin my childhood memories. You know how you watch something and you enjoy it when you're 10 years old?
Right.
When you're watching it to so-and-so age,
yeah,
it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb. It's stupid.
Right. Well, if you only focus on the special effects, you may come away with that feeling. But you know what? The bottom line of that show is, we had great morals, we had good storylines, and you know what? That stuff doesn't go in and out of style.
No.
You know, so therefore it still holds its own no matter, you know, if it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you know, those things are still, you know, you can still watch The Wizard of Oz because it was a moral-based story, and it just was well done. And it still holds its value even in today's world. Okay, maybe you see the balloon go shaking off into the sky at the end, but you know what I mean? You can focus on those things, but if you just pay attention to what it meant to you back then, the whole big picture of it, that still exists in it today.
What did you think of the remake of The Land of Lost?
Yeah. We get that question all the time.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, I'm not eyeing you. I'm just saying it was called Land of the Lost, but it wasn't. It was, Wesley and I actually did a cameo in it. They got cut.
Where was the cameo at in it?
They replaced it with the Matt Lauer segment.
Okay.
They had like 6 different endings. Ours was one of them, and they went with the Matt Lauer one. And this is no put down on Will Ferrell as far as a person. He could not have been nice enough to us. Everybody on the set was very nice. Land of the Lost was not a movie or a TV show that should have been spoofed. It wasn't about that.
Funny part is I feel a lot about that when they're fooling, they're strip mining these old TV shows, and they're looking at them as like, let's make them ha-ha funny, and a lot of them weren't, like Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah. You know, if somebody would have had the wherewithal, because of the special effects that was at their fingertips today.
Because they've got the Jurassic Park special effects level.
Right. But if somebody would have taken the time to really grasp what the core of our show was about.
Do you feel that, I didn't mean to interrupt you, that
I would have loved to have directed that show, because you know why? Because the show should have been about progression. If you go to a campsite Friday night, do you realize what you do the following Saturday morning and that Sunday? You make your campground better. The whole time you're like making improvements.
That's what I liked about from season 1 to season 2.
Yeah, we would have researched more things. We would have explored more things there. We would have grown, and the fans would have loved that. They would have ate that up. If
you know, a good example that I was about to say is the TV show Lost. It takes a lot of those elements like that, where it starts in area A and then opens up area B.
Yeah.
You know, because
that's what it was missing. I have people at my table.
All right, thank you for the interview.
Yeah, it was
sorry
a pleasure
about
talking to you.
Keeping
No,
you.
you're fine. I'm just saying, when somebody comes, I gotta go.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It was nice talking
Bye.
to you.
When I look all around, I can't believe the things I found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost